Por supuesto, les incomoda que una mujer como yo, afrodescendiente, esté ocupando la casa vicepresidencial con mi autenticidad, con mi identidad. Y hoy no me importa. No me importa, yo voy con mi cabello natural donde yo quiero. Me hago los peinados que quiera.
Muy bonitos, todos,
Sí.
muy bonitos todos los estilos.
Me visto como yo quiera, no me pongo a ver si a la élite acepta o no. La libertad implica reconocerme en mi ser. Yo no puedo estarle diciendo a la gente que lucha por su libertad cuando mi propio cuerpo y mi propio ser todavía están encadenados. Sí, cuando mi mente sigue atada a un sistema colonial que nos impuso que lo negro es feo, que lo negro es malo y que lo bonito es lo que no se parece a nosotros.
This video truly warms my heart and makes me very happy and emotional, but you know, the good kind of emotional. To see a woman like herself climb so far up there and she's still so authentic to herself, truthful to herself, and she's like, this is who I am. You either accept it or you don't. Either way, I don't care what you think or feel about who I am. This is the kind of representation we need. Not only is she a black woman occupying such a powerful position in her country, she is true to herself and she's proud of her roots. She truly is an inspiration and a positive influence. Her just being her, authentically just being who she is making a very bold statement. The number of black girls that will now be able to look up to this lady and tap into the pride that she has and now find pride in themselves as well, and now be able to embrace themselves and love themselves for who they truly are, regardless of whoever accepts them or not. She comes authentically and she doesn't care what the elite thinks. This whole idea of us conforming to their standard and trying to, you know, get their validation, she's like, F that. This is so beautiful. I wish we had more of this. I wish a day would come where being us, being who we authentically are, is enough. And not just being enough, I also wish a day would come where us being who we truly are, is our standard. Because right now, our standard is not being us. Our standard is being a watered down version of us. Our standard is us pursuing other people's standard, right? And I understand that in countries like America or in the Western world in general, where black people are, it's hard to not conform because you need to conform to survive. But it would shock you guys to know that even here on the continent, we are not exactly our standard like that. When I was in uni, I used to hustle at the side to, you know, get my little change here and there to do some extra stuff for myself, right? Plus, a girl just can't be idle. You know, you have to instill that hustling spirit very early. So I used to work as an usher at events, and I also worked as a promoter for these, you know, spirit brands, beer brands included as well. Now, I'm not going to be mentioning the names of either the beer or the spirit brands that I worked with, but you guys know these brands, they're popular. We used to, you know, promote their drinks in bars and lounge and clubs and all of that. And there is a certain standard of how we should, you know, look and how our hair should be. So sometimes they give you hairstyles requirements, and it's nothing African. It's never come with an afro. It's never you know, you can wear a threaded hairstyle. Okay, first of all, before you even get picked for the job, because they host auditions, you have to, you know, they only pick certain kind of people. You have to have the height, you have to have the looks. You know, the world we live in is all based on appearance, right? So it's that kind of industry, and I was in it. And yeah, they tell you have to get the weaves, you have to, you know, get your hair slicked down a certain way depending on the hairstyle they are picking. And it's always the slick down, silky stuff. It's never how you are authentically as an African child on the continent. And this is Africa, and that's the requirement, and it's crazy, right? I only did one job in like the 2 years I was in that industry that required some of the ushers at the event, because in this particular event there were like categories of ushers. Just one set of them of ushers were required to have this African look, African aesthetics. And that was because this particular event in question was themed African, had an African theme, right? So that was why, you know, some of the ushers were required to have that African look, that African appeal. So I've always rocked natural hair, but whenever I want to go for these auditions so I can get selected to work at these events, I would have to put a wig on. You have to, give them the look they want to see for you to be considered for the job, right? So I would have to put a wig on. If there are times where I could not put a wig on, if I go with my natural hair for the event and, I'm being considered for the job, they would ask me, you will do something with your hair, right? Like you have a wig you can wear over your hair, right? P.S. This is not a matter of foreigners coming in with this requirement, requesting us to live up to their standard. No, it is Nigerians that are requesting for these standards that are not even us, that are not African. And this isn't me saying that the only time I wore weaves was when it was required of me by my job, because that would be a big lie and me being a hypocrite, because there were times where I wore weaves by choice, even when I wasn't going to work. Because you see, I grew up in a society where weaves are the standard, weaves are glamorized. When you turn on your TV, you watch the movies, everybody's wearing a weave, and that's what's considered to be classy, right? My first weave ever was from an aunt, and I got that weave just after secondary school. So growing up in such a society, I followed what I met as the norm. But as I right now, all of that have changed because I no longer buy or wear them. So this is what I mean when I say that we are not our standard, even here on the continent. It's a global conformity problem that we are facing. But ours, on the other hand, is self-inflicted, right? Because we can in no way, shape or form compare to, let's say, what African Americans or Black people in America in general are facing when it comes to how they have to carry themselves and how they have to dress and wear their hair, because they literally have to do that to survive because of the situation, the society that they find themselves in, which is unfortunate. But why do we on the continent have to do all of that though? And it goes beyond hair. Okay, let's say we want to talk about clothing, for example. In Nigeria, I'm going to narrow this down to Nigeria because that's where I'm from. I can't speak for the entire continent. We have relegated Ankara native attires to Fridays, like in the corporate world, right? You cannot exactly wear native attires every day. Even if you wanted to, you have to wear your, skirts and your suits and Western corporate dressings, right? Monday to Thursday, and then Fridays is the day that they relegate to the day you can wear Ankara clothing. So you go to the bank, you could see bankers dressed in Ankara, schools, teachers, they are dressed in Ankara on Friday. And I personally think, well, and then Sundays, yes, Sundays is another day you can, people wear their Ankara clothing to church, right? Sundays. Me, I'm like, what does this even mean? So Monday till Thursdays, we are what? Negropeans. We only get to be fully African on Fridays and Sundays. It doesn't make sense. Yes, I understand that we live in a different time and in a different world now, and certain dresses have become the norm. Certain borrowed cultural dresses from the European world has now become the norm, no thanks to colonization. But can we shift this whole mentality, please? My point basically is we should not relegate our stuff to like a particular day or like a particular point in time. People should be able to express themselves, their African selves, how they want to be able to express themselves in an African way, wherever or however they want to. And it should not be like, oh, this is when you can do that. You can't do that on Mondays. You can't do it on Tuesdays. No, we only do it on Fridays. If we're going to be talking about decolonizing, we also have to look into these aspects as well. Why is our culture relegated to like a particular day, but theirs is like the norm and running rampant? And why are we not our standard? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves as a people so we can fully decolonize our minds and free ourselves from mental slavery. And this is why I was very happy when I came by this video of our Madam Vice President of Colombia being so proud of who she is as a Black woman and being so authentic to herself. It's very admirable what she's doing, her setting this beautiful example, making this bold statement saying she is beautiful, her culture is beautiful, her features are beautiful, and she doesn't care what anyone else thinks because all that matters is what she thinks. She is basically saying, I don't have to live up to your standard because I am enough. She is saying we are enough as a people. We don't have to continue this rat race pursuing these standards that we would never meet. This is also one of the reasons why I appreciate Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, because of how true she comes out and how authentic she is to herself. But when it comes to, presenting yourself as authentic as you can as an African child and as a Black woman, she does a very good job. And I love watching her do that because I understand greatly what this representation means to the young Black girls and the women that are watching her and look up to her, right? We are different from everyone else, and that makes us very unique, but some of us have not realized that yet. But I know that someday we all unanimously would come to realize just how unique of a people we actually are. Big shout out to Madam Vice President of Colombia. We see what you are doing and we're here for it. But guys, what do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll see you guys, of course, in the next one.
There are no major white characters in your books.
No. The Black narrative has always been understood to be a confrontation with some white people. I'm sure there are many of them. They are not terribly interesting to me. What is interesting to me is what is going on within the community. And within the community, there are no major white players. Once I thought, what is life like if they weren't there? Which is the way we lived it, the way I lived it.